Unveiling the sacred shift, why your passions fade post-awakening. I never expected a single dream to change everything. It was the kind of night where shadows danced with whispers, and the air felt electric, alive with unseen forces. I sat on my bed, my heart racing, grappling with the wild revelations that had burst forth in vibrant colors during my sleep. A sacred shift. It felt like a cosmic joke spun from threads of midnight chaos. What did it all mean? I stood at the crossroads of my own awakening, staring into the vast depths of uncertainty. My passion, once a roaring fire, now flickered weakly, dimmed by a haze of confusion. What happened to the thrill of creation? Life had once felt like an endless tapestry of possibility, and now it felt as though I were trapped behind a glass wall, watching the world swirl by. The journey of transformation comes with signs, or so I believed. I leaned into meditation, searching for answers in the silence. Every breath drew me deeper, where the world outside slipped away, and all I could hear was the thrumming of my heart. On most days, it was serene, on others, chaos reigned. I would see flickers of light in corners of my mind, hear faint echoes of lost dreams. The trees seemed to whisper secrets in the wind, the moon casting an eerie glow that beckoned me to listen. There was magic in their presence, but what was it trying to say? Each morning, questions tangled in my thoughts like vines. Why does passion feel so distant? Was I not worthy of that light? I wandered through parks, letting nature's vibrance seep into my soul, seeking solace in flowers that bloomed defiantly against time. Yet, I felt unanchored, as if the universe was playing a cruel game, hinting at answers just beyond my reach, and then, in the stillness of dawn, I had a vision. A swirl of color erupted in my mind, a kaleidoscope of my past, present, and future intertwining. But just as quickly, it vanished, leaving behind a haunting question: where had all my passions gone? The uncertainty gnawed at me, but beneath the fear lay a spark of hope. Was it possible that this unfolding journey held greater treasures? Was the loss just a part of something more sacred? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the days morphed into a pattern of yearning and confusion, I found solace in the act of journaling. Each morning, with the rising sun as my witness, I spilled my thoughts onto the pages, tracing the ebb and flow of my spirit's turmoil. Words danced together, creating a symphony of unanswered questions that echoed in the hollow spaces of my heart. Why was it that in seeking truth, I felt further lost? One crisp afternoon, longing for clarity, I ventured to a local bookstore known for its eclectic collection of wisdom. The moment I crossed the threshold, I felt an electric energy, an undercurrent of stories and knowledge waiting to burst forth. As I wandered through the tightly lined shelves, my fingers brushed against rough spines, and a shiver of recognition coursed through me. Suddenly, one particular title caught my eye: The Path of the Awakening Heart. Drawn to it like a moth to a flame, I pulled the book from the shelf and flipped it open. The words leaped from the page, igniting something deep within, a reflection of my own journey, struggles and all. That day, the book became both a map and a mirror, resonating with the universal themes of loss, rebirth, and the whisper of forgotten dreams. Hours slipped away as I absorbed its teachings, and a passage struck me profoundly: do not fear the dark corners of your soul, they are where the deepest transformations begin. In that instant, a flicker of understanding illuminated my path. Perhaps these feelings of fading passion were not an ending but a precursor to something new. The realization unfurled like a blossom, urging me to embrace my internal chaos instead of shunning it. Inspired, I decided to unearth those lost sparks rather than wallow in their absence. I made a list of everything I once loved: art, writing, dancing, exploring, and vowed to incorporate them back into my life. The notion of reclaiming what felt distant filled me with a pulse of excitement. Maybe rekindling old passions could illuminate a path through the shadows consuming me. That evening, as twilight brushed the horizon, I sat at my art table, surrounded by scattered paints and brushes that had gathered dust. The feeling of nostalgia overwhelmed me, a swirl of all the laughs and inspiration I once embraced. Breathing deeply, I squeezed a burst of color onto the palette and let my brush be guided by intuition rather than judgment. The colors spilled across the canvas, forming a chaotic dance of emotion that poured from my soul. With each stroke, I felt pieces of myself reawakening, like slow embers igniting into a vibrant blaze. And yet, amidst this cathartic release, doubt clawed at the edges of my consciousness. What if I was simply mimicking past flames, unable to forge a new path? Days turned to weeks, and I continued this exploration, weaving old passions back into the fabric of my existence. Yet, with each moment of joy, a contrasting shadow lingered, whispering uncertainty. Why does the essence of new creation still feel elusive? Why do flourishes of inspiration feel more like echoes than the resounding call of the present? In quiet contemplation under the stars, I began to question even more deeply, could it be that my pursuits were always merely signposts leading me toward something sacred? Were these passions truly mine, or reflections of society's expectations and demands? The expanse of the night sky mirrored the infinite possibilities swirling in my thoughts, a vast cosmos of questions that remained unanswered. As I closed my eyes, visions of futures yet to unfold danced in my mind. Each question crafted a question of its own, spiraling into the dark corners of my spirit. What if this journey wasn't solely about reclaiming fading passions but rather about rediscovering the essence of who I was meant to be? Could the awakening be a calling to forge something entirely new from the ashes of what once burned bright? The mystery lingered in the air, heavy with uncharted potential. As the horizon glimmered with the promise of dawn, I felt a new openness emerge within. What exactly awaited me on this untraveled path into the sacred unknown? The dawn broke softly, its tentative light casting intricate patterns on the walls of my room. With each awakening, the question loomed larger: what awaited me beyond the thresholds of my past passions? I felt an almost magnetic pull to step deeper into the inquiry of my own existence. Determined, I stepped outside, letting the cool morning air envelop me like a soft embrace. The world, alive with sounds and colors, seemed to call out with quiet urgency. A few blocks away lay a park I had frequented as a child, a lush sanctuary of towering trees and whispering winds. It was there that I hoped to seek some deeper revelation, a communion with nature that could drown out the sirens of doubt clamoring in my mind. As I walked, the rhythm of my footsteps matched the silent drum of the universe, a heartbeat connecting me to the earth. Once in the park, I settled upon a weathered bench under the expansive crown of an ancient oak. Its gnarled branches reached toward the sky, sagging under the weight of untold stories and wisdom accumulated over decades. Observing the gently swaying leaves, I began to contemplate the cycles of life, how they hibernated, blossomed, and eventually withered, only to be reborn again in a dance as old as time itself. As I sat in reflection, a gentle rustle drew my attention. An elderly woman, her silver hair cascading in waves, approached me with a twinkle in her eye and a bundle of wildflowers in her hand. She greeted me with a warm smile, and instinctively, I felt both safe and curious in her presence. "Would you like to borrow some of my magic?" she asked lightly, gesturing at the flowers. That I chuckled, intrigued. "Magic? How so?" "The language of the heart is spoken through nature," she replied, kneeling to place a flower into my palm. I examined its fragile petal structure, a delicate pink hue accessed by a golden center, radiating with life. "Every flower has a story, just like you do. You see, life draws us into cycles of blooming, fading, and rebirthing." Her words ignited something dormant within me. "But what if I can't find my bloom again?" I confessed, my vulnerability laid bare. She took a moment, looking deep into my eyes. "Ah, sweet child, what you perceive as fading may simply be the soil enriching your roots. Just as flowers need time to gather strength before opening, we too must honor our seasons. The quest is not always about immediate blossoming. Sometimes, we must first grow beneath the surface. Her insight emerged like sunlight through dense clouds, and I clung to it, pondering how too often I yearned for the visible displays of growth, neglecting the unseen work of the soul. But how do I nurture that unseen growth? I pressed. By embracing the stillness, the gaps, the quiet moments between your passions. Allow yourself to feel the discomfort and confusion, they are as vital as joy. Shift your focus from wanting to create to simply being. This is the sacred shift. The woman smiled knowingly and then rose from the bench, leaving me with a sense of wonder. Alone once more, I took a deep breath, inhaling the fragrant air. Could my spiritual journey be more about the becoming than the doing? I felt scattered thoughts coalesce into a singular vision of acceptance, a realization that perhaps the silence between the notes is what gives music its depth. Gazing up at the expansive sky, painted in soft pastels, I began to envision my heart as a garden preparing for a new season. Could the waiting period, the apprehension of what lies dormant, be an essential part of my rebirth? Would embracing this phase of seeming inactivity open doors I had yet to perceive? Yet even this insight thickened into new questions. What does it truly mean to accept stillness? How can I tune into my soul's wisdom without the distractions of external validation? And in these layers of existence, will I be able to nurture the courage to trust that my next bloom will usher forth joy authentic and untainted by fear? As the sun climbed higher, spilling light over the park, I felt the deep reverberation of the day's revelations. Whispering within. My heart would continue to seek answers on this spiritual quest, but now, I felt a growing anticipation and embrace of the unknowing, the sacred pause before the next awakening. What more awaited me as I stepped into this vast expanse of potential that lay just beyond the horizon? With the sun beginning to sink towards the horizon, casting long shadows through the trees, I rose from the bench, allowing the lingering warmth of the elderly woman's words to settle deep within. Each step felt lighter, as if the weight of my uncertainties had loosened, giving a little release to my restive spirit. I wandered deeper into the heart of the park, where a small lake lay glimmering like a polished mirror, its surface reflecting the fiery orange and purple hues of the sunset. As I approached the water's edge, I noticed a gathering of ducks gliding effortlessly across the surface. Their gentle paddling and quiet quacking offered a sense of stillness that contrasted with the humming chaos of my thoughts. It was in that moment that the presence of another caught my attention, a young man seated on a nearby bench, sketchbook in hand. His brow was furrowed in concentration, and there was a rhythm to his strokes that suggested a deep engagement with his craft that I felt drawn to him, a silent curiosity pulling me closer. What was it that had him so captivated? As I neared, he glanced up, his dark eyes sparkling with a mixture of surprise and friendliness. "Do you sketch?" he asked, motioning to the empty space on the wooden bench next to him. "No, but I find the act of creation fascinating," I replied, settling in beside him. "There's something about how you seem to disappear into your art that intrigues me." His lips curved into a smile, and he nodded at his work. "It's my way of processing everything: life, emotions, the dance of nature around us." He paused, tilting his head as if considering me. "What do you seek?" I hesitated, truth hanging in the air between us. "I think I'm trying to uncover what's next for me. I've been feeling lost after an awakening, and it scares me to see my passions fade." The young man's expression softened, and in that moment, I sensed a kinship, a shared struggle of navigating the spectral nature of inspiration. Awakening can feel like a double-edged sword. It shines a light on our truths, but it can also dim the illusions we clung to. Sometimes, in that light, we realize we no longer connect to what we once thought defined us. It's not the fading of passion but a call to refine it. His words resonated, and I felt a flicker of understanding kindling in my heart. A call to refine it? I echoed, intrigued. Yes. Passions evolve, and so must we. Perhaps the lull is an invitation to explore new territories, to find the bedrock of what truly feeds your spirit. You might discover something deeper than before, an essence of your creativity that speaks not just to what you love, but to who you are becoming. He turned back to his sketching, and I watched as he continued to breathe life into the page, each line revealing not just the exterior view but the emotion embedded within it. In that moment, I understood, this current shift could be a rebirth, a subtle metamorphosis hidden within the silence where I once felt stalled. The notion of redefining what my passions could mean opened new realms of possibility. As the light faded into twilight, the water began to shimmer with a reflective sparkly dance of stars mirroring above. My thoughts shifted vividly to the idea of layers of myself still unfolding. The idea that I could step into a space of both longing and not knowing the vibrant possibilities still to come warmed my heart. Tell me, I ventured, how do you find the courage to explore this evolution when so much feels unknown? He paused, looking out at the water. Courage isn't the absence of fear, but the will to move through it. Every brushstroke can feel daunting, yet each one brings you closer to clarity. Trust the process, honor your journey, and allow the flow of creation to navigate you. In your stillness, listen for the whispers, they guide you toward an authentic bloom. As darkness began to cloak the park, I felt a surge of gratitude towards this stranger, whose perspective illuminated a path lit by curiosity rather than certainty. Rising from the bench, I mused how vulnerability could be a strength, a gateway to untold stories waiting to be woven into my existence. But as I walked away, fresh questions etched themselves upon my heart. Will I be brave enough to embrace the unfolding journey of my passions? How do I remain attuned to the whispers of my own creativity amid change? And could every step into the unknown lead me closer to my truest self? With the night creeping upon me like a soft blanket, I ventured into the depths of my spiritual inquiry, eager to learn, unafraid to pause, and ready to embrace the sacred journey ahead. What transformations awaited me in accepting the ambiguity of my evolution? As I walked through the dimly lit paths of the park, the earthly sense of damp soil and rich foliage enveloped me. The sound of rustling leaves whispered secrets of the night, guiding me deeper into contemplation. Each step felt like a surrender, an invitation to the expansive unknown that lay both inside and outside of me. The echoes of the young man's words danced in my mind, the idea of refining my passions twisting and twirling like the shadows around me. Soon, I found myself near the old oak tree that stood sentinel over the water, its gnarled branches tracing patterns against the starlit sky. I lowered myself onto a smooth patch of grass beneath its expansive canopy. Here, the world faded into a soft blackness, and I found myself caught between the present and a rising tide of memories, moments of jubilant creativity, of vibrant dreams that had once colored my existence. As I closed my eyes, I felt a gentle breeze flutter against my skin, carrying with it the scent of jasmine and night-blooming flowers. From the recesses of my awareness, I sensed a presence, an intangible energy that encircled me. A heartbeat within nature itself, pulsating with mysteries yet to unfold. In that stillness, I sought comfort, but the questions danced like fireflies in the corners of my mind, refusing to be quieted. Broaden your gaze, I heard within an inward voice that echoed with clarity. The beauty of your passions lies not just in their manifestation but in the yearning that propels you to seek them. I opened my eyes, peering up into the intricacies of the oak's leaves, as if searching for answers among the stars. The vastness above reminded me of possibility, it mirrored my own complexity, woven of dreams both lost and hidden, of hopes entangled like vines seeking the light. Suddenly, the sound of laughter broke through my solitude, drawing my attention. A small gathering of people had arrived at the park's edge, their joy echoing in the quiet night. They moved with the exuberance of explorers, illuminated by the glows of lanterns, their laughter rippling like water over stones. Intrigued, I stood to observe. Each individual was lost in their own world, yet together they formed a vibrant tapestry of connection. Among them, a woman with a flower crown twirled in the grass, her laughter mingling with the night air, a wild abandon that sparked something deep within me. It was a reminder of the freedom found in creativity, that unfettered joy I longed for. I felt an inexplicable urge to join them, but hesitation clung to me like a shadow. What if my presence would disrupt their revelry? What if they had their own purpose for gathering? Yet, as I watched them, I realized I wasn't merely an observer, I was a part of this nocturnal thread of life. A soft but firm resolve settled in my heart. Perhaps the act of joining would be the very exploration I sought, perhaps within this joy, I could find a renewed connection to my passions. Gathering my courage, I stepped towards them. As I approached, the young woman caught my eye and smiled, understanding radiating from her as though she sensed the hesitance and longing within me. "Come dance with us. Embrace the mystery of this night," she called, her voice ringing with warmth. As I stepped into the circle, my heart pounded, but with every movement, I felt the weight of my uncertainties melt away like candle wax. Laughter erupted, each sound lifting me further from the chains of self-doubt, dissolving into the rhythm of the night. I twirled, arms wide, allowing the moment to sweep me up, feeling alive in a way I had almost forgotten. In that dance, I discovered freedom. The fears of fading passions morphed into promises of rebirth. I was reminded that even in the unknown, connections could spark renewed light. The crowd's jubilance infused my spirit, fueling a creative fire that I could almost feel in my bones. After what felt both fleeting and timeless, I found a place on the grass, my breath steadying as the stars above twinkled brightly. I looked around at the people around me, their faces lit with joy, and I realized I had unearthed a truth that had remained elusive. Sometimes, to embrace our passions, we must first embrace each other. Find inspiration in shared experiences that ignite the heart. As the night deepened, the laughter and music softened, the world calming into a serene hush. I turned my gaze back to the shimmering surface of the lake, pondering the journey still before me. The profound questions lingered within, yet they were accompanied now by a nourishing sense of curiosity. Would I dare to explore this evolving landscape of creativity? What depths lay beneath the soft ripples where my passions, new and old, converged? I reflected on the connections that have appeared along my way, each a signpost in my search for self. The answers were not simply in a solitary quest but a symphony composed through both solitude and togetherness. With the night as my witness, I vowed to continue this exploration, knowing that with every step into the unknown, I was weaving a rich tapestry of discovery. How would I further embrace the interplay of fear and joy? What uncharted paths awaited my footsteps, hidden in the folds of this sacred shift? As the first light of dawn began to stretch across the horizon, the tendrils of night reluctantly withdrew, leaving behind a veil of mist that hugged the ground like a tender memory. I sat at the lake's edge, a place where water and sky danced in playful shades of pastel. In the stillness of the early morning, I felt an echo of the night's laughter, a gentle reminder of that vibrant connection I had woven with the gathering of souls. The blossoms around me seemed to awaken in unison, bright petals unfurling to greet the sun, embodying a fearless embrace of life. I let my fingers brush the dew-kissed grass, and with each stroke, I reflected on the invitation I had accepted, the invitation to rediscover joy through shared experience. There was something sacred in that spontaneity, as if the universe conspired with my heart to lead me here, to this moment of potential. Yet, as the sun climbed higher, illuminating the delicate veil of fog, a whisper of doubt flickered through my mind. Was this euphoria merely transient, an ephemeral high that would fade with the evening shadows? I recalled the words of the young man, "Refine your passions." What did refinement entail, and how could I ensure that the flame ignited would not be extinguished by fading familiarity or fear of vulnerability? Compelled by curiosity, I moved along the lake's edge, following the path carved by footsteps past. Every so often, I would pause to observe the rippling water, which reflected not just the beauty of the dawn but unspoken truths that danced just beneath its surface. It struck me that water, in its fluidity, mirrored my own journey, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, but always moving toward the vast ocean of potential. As I continued to walk, I was soon drawn to a small clearing where an elderly man sat on a worn wooden bench, his eyes fixed on the rhythm of the water. There was a serenity about him, an ancient wisdom that seemed to seep from his very being. I hesitated, but my instinct urged me forward. "Good morning," I greeted, my voice soft yet sincere, wanting to bridge the gap between our worlds. The old man turned towards me, a gentle smile appearing beneath his weathered visage. "Ah, the dawn welcomes you, young seeker. What brings you to the lake at this hour?" "I'm exploring my passion, searching for a way to keep the fire alive within me," I replied, a tinge of vulnerability coating my words. It felt oddly liberating to share this piece of my inner world with a stranger. His gaze deepened, and I could see a flicker of understanding. Passions, like rivers, can change course. They ebb and flow with the seasons of our lives. It is not the fading of the fire you should fear, but rather the stagnation of the water. His words settled in my being, weighty yet freeing, prompting me to reflect further. How do I ensure that my passions continue to flow and evolve? I asked, eager for insight that he gestured toward the water, shimmering with the sun's golden embrace. Observe the beauty in its movements. Passion is never stagnant, it ebbs in response to the environment. Sometimes, it needs to be stirred, to mingle with the elements around it. Surround yourself with those who inspire and challenge you, who see the depths of your spirit. You'll find that your own passions will reflect back the brilliance of their light. That I felt a warmth spread through me, a newfound clarity unfolding like a flower beneath the sun's glow. I understood now that I was not meant to cultivate my passions in isolation, they could flourish in harmony with those I meet along this journey. This shared fellowship was a mirror, illuminating the facets of my creativity that had long lain dormant. Thanking the old man, I took a moment to truly appreciate his presence, a short encounter that bore the weight of profound teaching. As I walked away, I sensed the tendrils of anxiety loosening their grip, replaced by a flickering excitement for what lay ahead. Yet, beneath that excitement was a question that nagged at the corners of my consciousness: what kind of community would nurture my evolving passions? And how could I contribute back to this cycle of inspiration? With every step, I felt the world around me expanding. The lake shimmered and beckoned, the oak tree stood heavily rooted with its own tales of resilience, and I was a part of it, a thread woven into a larger tapestry of shared stories, hopes, and dreams. As I contemplated the day unfolding before me, a sense of wonder brewed deep within. What new connections awaited me, and how would they shape my creative journey? Would the embrace of collaboration illuminate more of my passions, or would it raise shadows of discomfort I had yet to unearth? Armed with a spark of curiosity, I ventured forward into the day, a sense of possibility swelling within me. Each step was not just a stride into the unknown, but also a step back into a landscape where connections breathed life into the very essence of my being. Would I dare to dive deeper, relinquishing control to the currents of passion as I explored the intricate dance of togetherness and self? The sun climbed higher, liberating the day from remnants of dawn. Brightness enveloped me, each ray seeming to whisper encouragement as I wandered along the winding path of the lakeshore. The water sparkled like a mosaic of stars dropped from the heavens, illuminating a space within me that felt long obscured. I carried the old man's words like a talisman, reminding me of the need for connection, for vibrant exchange with the world. As I navigated the familiar trails, a sense of anticipation thrummed in my veins. Not far ahead, a gathering of people had congregated beneath a great oak, its branches sweeping towards the sky as if illustrating the aspirations of all who sought shade in its embrace. Curiosity urged my steps closer, and as I arrived, a tapestry of laughter and chatter swirled around me, a compelling invitation into a world of shared energy. The group was engaged in a spontaneous collage-making session, each person pulling from a stockpile of magazines and art supplies arranged upon worn blankets. The sight was not just a demonstration of creativity but an act of communion, each image chosen, each color blended, a stroke forming connections visible and invisible. One young woman, her vibrant hair cascading like a waterfall of fiery hues, caught my eye. She was meticulously placing a photo of a dancer amidst the chaos of clippings. I could see the joy radiating off her fingertips as she carefully positioned the image, an act of intentionality that mirrored the very exploration I found myself embarked upon. Would you like to join us? She called, her voice a melodic invitation interwoven with sincerity. I hesitated only for a moment before nodding enthusiastically, drawn by the palpable creativity that thrummed in the air. It was as if I had crossed some unspoken threshold, stepping into a realm rich with possibility. As I sat on the edge of the blanket, I was embraced by a sense of belonging that felt both foreign and familiar. Where do you find your passions? She asked as she passed me a pair of scissors, her gaze piercing yet gentle. Honestly, I'm not sure yet, I confessed, excitement emboldening my reply. I am on a journey to explore what holds meaning for me. To find where my heart can intertwine with the hearts of others. Her eyes sparkled with understanding. Ah, then you're in the right place. This process is about revealing yourself in layers. Each cut, each paste, is a piece of who you are becoming. As we worked side by side, each snip of the scissors unfurled something deeper within me. Visions of dreams and memories began to stitch themselves together. I tore out snippets of quotations that resonated with my current journey. Awakening isn't a destination, one read, it's a perpetual unfolding, the vibrant gathering blended with my inner reflecting, a symphony of thoughts blossoming as I engaged in this creative dance. Voices rose and fell, tales shared infused the air with warmth, encapsulating that feeling of synchronous togetherness. Around us, hearts were laid bare, and fears transformed into victories. Each story was a brushstroke that painted a larger picture of who we were, imperfect, beautiful, and irrevocably connected through echoes of experience. Yet beneath the warm surface of camaraderie, I felt a quieter question creeping into my mind: was this connection a mere spark, or could it become a beacon guiding me forward? Was this community, this formed circle of inspiration, a fleeting encounter or a sustainable sanctuary for my passions to flourish? As the sun tilted toward its zenith, casting long shadows over our ephemeral creation, I realized the collage we were weaving was not just an art piece, it was a reflection of everything we sought to experience and achieve. In sharing our stories, we were cultivating the fertile ground for passion to thrive, but how did one maintain that growth beyond this moment? Once again, I was left wrestling with uncharted depths, the realization that while I held seeds of inspiration within me, the task remained of nurturing those seeds and seeking fertile ground. How would I ensure this? Blossoming didn't wither beneath the hot sun of familiarity once the excitement faded, or the clouds of self-doubt gathered. As I etched my intentions onto the collage, I felt a lightness radiate from my heart. Amidst my reflections and vibrant encounters, the path of exploration stretched endlessly before me, a landscape of unknowns and profound possibility. What further revelations and connections awaited as I moved forward, and how might they reshape the very essence of my passion? Could this journey truly unveil the sacred shifts that transformed my experiences into radiant new beginnings? Each thought danced like a flame, flickering with promise while inviting me to dive deeper into the vibrant mysteries of not just who I was, but who I might yet become. The sun languidly dipped towards the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and amber, as if it too were caught in a thread of inspiration spun among us. The collage lay before me, a kaleidoscope of colors and images, each piece a testament to fleeting moments that had crystallized into something beautiful and meaningful. But like whispers of the wind, I sensed the urge to venture beyond this transient gathering and deeper into my own unexplored landscape. As I glanced around, the laughter and animated discussions nestled deep within my heart, yet I also felt the pull of an uncharted path waiting to be discovered. I gathered my thoughts, each a gentle tug toward something more, as if the universe were beckoning me to listen closely. With each friendship rooted in that oak's shade, I could feel the old man's wisdom echoing: true connection outlasts the moment. But how would I carry it forward? Feeling emboldened, I rose and thanked the vibrant group with all the warmth I could muster, promising to carry their creativity with me as I stepped beyond the circle. They waved farewell, spirits high, a chorus of encouragement still swirling like leaves rustling in an autumn breeze. Stepping back onto the path, I felt the earth's coolness against my bare feet, grounding me once again. Beyond the lakeshore, where the wooded trees intermingled with wildflowers, lay an overgrown trail beckoning me with its dense shadow. Following its undulating curves, I sensed a growing stillness. It was in these profound silences that I felt the pulse of existence itself, a quiet hum whispering beneath the surface. Suddenly, there appeared a figure, half hidden between the trees, a man draped in a cloak that flowed like water across the foliage. Long gray hair framed his face, a wild mane stirred by the gentle breeze. He looked up from the trail, and though his expression was calm, his eyes held centuries of wisdom captured within them. Ah, the seeker walks the path, he intoned, his voice like rustling leaves. What brings you to this threshold of mystery? I stopped, momentarily taken aback yet intrigued. I am exploring my passions, seeking connection, and understanding how to foster growth after moments of awakening. A glimmer sparked in his gaze. Awakening, my friend, is but the beginning of a dance with the cosmos. It is here that you learn the cycle of ebb and flow. I nodded, yearning for clarity, but how do I sustain the bloom of inspiration I just experienced? How can I keep the flame of my passions alive amid the inevitable shadows that return? He motioned for me to follow deeper into the woods, where beams of filtered light danced upon the petals of wildflowers. As we walked, he began to share stories, each a thread woven into the larger tapestry of life. Many carry flames within, but not all tend them well. he said, effortlessly gathering wildflowers as he spoke. Those blossoms flourish only when nurtured with intention and care. Each passion is a seed. What soil do you provide? What sunlight do you offer? I listened intently, the weight of his words heavy on my heart. Yet our paths are often obscured by the complexity of life. How can I find my way amidst confusion and self-doubt? His answer arrived wrapped in the rustling of leaves. Embrace the uncertainty. Within confusion lies the call to explore. Seek courage in vulnerability, it is here that growth occurs. Practice presence moment by moment, allow your passions to unfurl. As his wisdom settled in, I paused, considering the wildflowers glimmering in the filtered light. Each one stood unique, thriving despite their differences, rooted in the nurturing earth surrounding them. I felt a flicker of hope ignite within, a revelation that perhaps the complexities of life weren't barriers but invitations to transform how I viewed my journey. May I carry these insights with me, then? I asked, hoping his teachings could serve as a guiding compass. Indeed, he said, crafting a small bouquet from the flowers he had collected. He presented them to me, an offering gilded with meaning. But remember, they must be cared for. Each bloom is a mission to embrace your true self and the passions that declare a voice within you. With reverence, I accepted the bouquet, acclimating to the fragrant essence that wafted toward me. As I stood there in that sacred space, I realized that the essence of my journey was not just to find connection but to cultivate relationships that honored the dance between deep desire and the silence of uncertainty. That I thanked him, looking down at the bouquet cradled in my hands, a reminder of the beauty I could bring forth if I tended to my passions with love and fortitude. Stepping back onto the familiar path, I felt a renewed sense of purpose, returning to the lakeshore where connections paraded in colorful manifestations, now intertwined with newfound wisdom. Reflecting on the intricacies of awakening and sustained inspiration, I pondered, was the essence of connection a transient flicker or an ever-burning flame waiting for care? How would I navigate the moments of silence that beckoned between bursts of creativity? Even as the twilight enveloped me, the questions remained: would I have the courage to delve deeper into that stillness? And in that stillness, what secrets might guide me to nurture the heart of who I am destined to become? As twilight melted into night, the world around me twinkled with the faint glow of stars awakening in the sky. Each one seemed to pulse with a distinct frequency, vibrating with secrets of the universe. Clutching the bouquet tightly in my hands, I made my way back to the lakeshore, recalling the old man's words like a soft echo reverberating in my mind. As I approached, the air felt charged, imbued with a kind of electric magic, almost as if the night itself were a living tapestry threaded with anticipation. The water lapped gently against the shore, its surface reflecting the moonlight in shimmering fragments, reminding me of the different hues of life I had encountered earlier that day. That I settled onto the cool grass, surrounded by the vibrant remnants of our gathering that lingered like laughter on the wind. The familiar faces, now inside my mind like flickering candles, ignited in me reflections of the evening, yet my heart craved more. I closed my eyes to immerse myself deeper in the moment, breathing in the night air laden with the scent of the wildflowers I held. Moments slipped into minutes, and the unbroken silence ushered in new awareness. My mind began to wander, drifting through past encounters and fleeting thoughts of inspiration that had kindled my spirit. What was it that had drawn me to those moments of joy? What had caused them to dwindle? Like the embers of a fire left unattended, a breeze nudged my consciousness, carrying forth the soft harmonies of the universe. In that serene stillness, I sensed a flicker, a glimpse of something luminous weaving through the fabric of my thoughts. With curiosity beckoning me, I followed it in my mind's eye, visualizing a thread that connected me to those times of awakening. Then, just at the edge of my awareness, a new figure appeared in the periphery of my consciousness, a woman with ethereal grace. She shimmered like the stars above and wore garments that appeared woven from night itself. Her presence was calming yet inspiring, a beacon illuminating shadows in my heart. Why do you dwell on the incomplete, dear seeker? She asked softly, her voice the embodiment of serenity amidst the chaos of thoughts swirling within me. I seek to sustain the light of my passions, but I feel their vibrance wane, I confessed. I fear the inevitable return to silence that follows moments of clarity. With an understanding smile, she gestured to the stars above. Each star is born of a magnificent explosion, yet they flicker in cycles. However, they do not fear the darkness, they embrace it, acknowledging both the brilliance and the void. Your passions, too, exist within this duality. Her words penetrated deep layers of my consciousness. Embrace the ebb, just as the flowing of the tides embraces the vastness of the ocean. In stillness lies a well of potential waiting to be tapped. You must honor the phases of your inspiration. Some will be bright, while others may dim, yet all are necessary. That I held her gaze, absorbing the implications of her wisdom. How do I move through those periods of darkness without losing faith in my path? By cultivating the practice of presence, she replied, softening her tone. Each moment you dwell, acknowledge what the silence offers you. Dance in your heart between passion and pause. There's beauty in patience, and inspiration often hides in the crevices of quiet reflection. As her words echoed within me, I understood that my contemplation of passion was not merely a pursuit of radiant light, it was also about learning to cherish the shadows. Each silence or seeming lack of inspiration could become a fertile ground where new growth could occur, provided I tended it gently and without fear. Thank you, I murmured, a wave of gratitude swelling in my heart for this moment gifted amidst the expansive night. She seemed to sense the transformation unfolding within me, nodding and whispering, "Go forth, and when the shadows come, remember to listen. Within them, you may find the profound truths of your inner landscape." As she stepped back into the depths of the stars, I marveled at the interconnection of all things, recognizing that my journey would encompass continual cycles of creation and reflection. With a new blossoming in my heart, I turned my gaze toward the lake, its calm surface mirroring the mystery of the sky, inviting me to ponder deeper. How might I allow my passions to ebb and flow without judgment? What insights could emerge from honoring both the light and the darkness within? My journey felt richer now, twining through the spirals of existence, yet the questions lingered. How would I remain open to growth amidst the inevitable cycles of silence and serenity? And would I have the courage to greet each phase as an opportunity, rather than an ending? The dawn broke over the horizon with a gentle vibrancy, spilling hues of gold and lavender across the sky, and as I sat on the porch of my humble abode, I took in the soft whispers of a new beginning. My heart felt lighter, as if each beat echoed a melody I had long forgotten. Yesterday had been an embodiment of connection, a culmination of the journey that had unraveled many layers of doubt and confusion. The woman in the park, the old man by the lake, the spirited gathering of artists, they had woven threads of insight into the fabric of my spirit. Finally, a realization was arising from within me, one that reframed the very essence of what passion meant. That I had been so focused on the illumination of creativity, the fire in my heart, that I had disregarded the nurturing shadows that swirled around me. In my quest to sustain inspiration, I had failed to recognize the sacred role of silence, the profound wisdom that blooms in the spaces between moments of fervor. As I stared into the waking world, I felt an urge to deepen this understanding, not as a fleeting acknowledgement, but a commitment to engage fully with live cycles. Passions were indeed akin to rivers, ebbing and flowing in accordance with the seasons of existence. They were not confined to constant radiance, they blossomed in quietude, gathering strength before blooming anew. With this insight guiding me, I reached for my journal, an old companion cradled in my lap, and opened its pages to absorb this awakening. I started to pen the chords of gratitude that danced within me, the gratitude for the darkness that cradled the seeds of my spirit, the gratitude for every lingering whisper of uncertainty that had urged me to seek connection and meaning. Each line I wrote became a step of inner exploration, acknowledging the depths I had traversed to find authenticity. As I began to compose, I realized I was no longer trying to reignite a past flame, I was tending to a garden of newfound passions woven between heartbeats and breaths. Maybe it was not about fervent creations that erupted like fireworks, but rather, the gentle unfolding of petaled blooms that could be nurtured over time. I was a gardener of my soul, tending to the vibrancy of self by honoring the stillness, and in this raw moment of reflection, an unexpected revelation washed over me. To recognize my latent passions was to understand the sacred balance of embracing both artistry and vulnerability. Perhaps in creating, I was meant to also acknowledge the space for stillness, to surrender to the invitations of life that might appear uncertain yet filled with potential. Feeling electrified by this epiphany, I knew the next step wouldn't solely rest on revitalizing former loves but would be about discovering new avenues to explore. Inspired by my experience in the park, I envisioned gathering like-hearted souls to dive into mutual passion, to co-create spaces where creativity could flourish together, where stories could be shared, and where inspiration would ebb and flow like the tides. With renewed determination, I stood, stretching towards the sky, feeling an unbound connection to all that existed. I resolved to seek collaboration, to find ways to nurture relationships that would feed my artistic spirit and push me to grow beyond perceived limitations. I wanted to build community, a sanctuary where each voice mattered, resonating with authenticity and empowerment. Every step forward felt imbued with intent, a call to weave a tapestry of shared creativity. The moments of darkness were no longer daunting, they became invitations to delve within, to excavate, and to sift through the depths of uncertainty. Whatever transpires in the shadows carries the potential for a radiant transformation. As the sun climbed higher, illuminating the world around me, I lingered on the porch for a moment longer, letting the sweet fragrance of jasmine caress my senses. The warmth of the sun felt like the embrace of possibility, a promise that the journey ahead would continue inviting me. I carried the knowledge that every moment, both vibrant and still, was sacred, intertwined in the ever-evolving quest to awaken not just dormant passions but to unveil the essence of who I was always meant to be. Stepping off the porch, I felt a profound tranquility settle within. To honor my journey meant to embrace a dancing and eternal cycle of creation and reflection, a symphony sung in harmony between passion and pause. And as I moved forward into the embrace of a new day, I understood the truth that resides at the core of existence. Life, in all its complexity, dances beautifully within the duality of light and shadow. In that realization, I felt a calm whisper that reverberated through me, reminding me of a singular truth. As I embark on this journey, I carry not only the warmth of my passions but the wisdom of stillness, where every silence is simply a prelude to the next beautiful awakening.